Mm. Mm. And I'm going to go ahead and let people in. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I'm going to give it here a couple of minutes before we get underway, make sure everybody's joining us. I did get word that unfortunately we have a double booking of this Zoom room. So there is another meeting that's going on for the Food and Agricultural Systems Innovation Coalition. So if you're here for that event, please check your email. There is another link to another Zoom room. This is a meeting about the Connected KC 2050 call for projects. Mhm. Well, I think it's slowing down a little bit on the amount of people that are coming in, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. I want to first of all welcome everyone to this pre-application workshop for the Connected KC 2050 call for projects. This is a workshop that's related to our work to update the long-range metropolitan transportation plan. So a couple of notes before we get underway. As a reminder, this session is being recorded. I am going to be posting the recording on the call for projects page. In fact, the slides for this session for this webinar have already been posted on the page on the connectedkc.org/call for projects. So if you do see information that I'm sharing here over the next few minutes, you can find that on the website already. There's not a need to take very furious notes as I'm talking. But I do want to thank you all for joining us today. And this will be our agenda for this afternoon. We'll start out with welcome and introduction. So my name is Martin Rivarola. I am the Assistant Director of Transportation and Land Use with the Mid-America Regional Council, and I will have the largest speaking part in today's session. I'm also serving as a project manager for update of the Long Range Transportation Plan. But I am joined by a couple of other folks that are on the call that will also have a speaking role. Selena Zapata Burr, who's a principal planner with our office. She is going to be taking a few minutes and just walking people through the application portal that we have developed to collect project information as well. I have not seen Ron Ackelpool. Ron, I do see him is on the call. Ron Ackelpool is the director of the Transportation and Environment Department with Mark. Ron does not have a speaking role for this afternoon session. However, he is available to answer any questions that anybody may have. Before we get underway, one last point, please make sure to add your name and organization in the chat so we can capture your attendance today. So I would very much appreciate that. So our attendance or our agenda this morning will be we'll be spending a few minutes reviewing the contents of the current plan, the Connected KC plan that was adopted by our Total Transportation Policy Committee and the Board of Directors in June of 2020. So it's been a little while now, about 3 years since it was adopted. So we'll be spending a few minutes reviewing that. Then we will be spending some time talking about the call for projects that we have open to collect information about new or updated projects that are included in our long range regional transportation plan. We'll be turning it over to Selena, who will talk about and walk us through the application portal, and we'll be reviewing some resources that we have made available for potential project sponsors, and then we'll be talking through some next steps and questions, and hopefully we'll have time for questions that anybody may have about this process. So to start out with the review of the current transportation plan, as most of you probably know, the transportation plan builds on a vision of striving towards a region of vibrant, connected, and green places with strong communities for our successful, engaged, and healthy people. So the transportation plan itself seeks to build on this vision to set a regional vision for our transportation system by developing policies and strategies and ultimately identifying regionally significant projects that we'll be seeking to advance over the life of the plan. So that's why we're here today, to collect information about those projects that the plan will be identifying. So this plan is a document that is required by federal law. It does guide spending over a long-range planning horizon, must be updated every 5 years. I mentioned that the current one was adopted in 2020, so this new update will be required by our board of directors in June of 2025. So an early step in the development of the current plan, the one that we have in place now, was an identification of um, of regional needs, which include transportation infrastructure that's coordinated with local land uses in our activity centers and corridors. We know we need a well-maintained and reliable system that promotes economic development. We know that residents need also access to walkable mixed-use neighborhoods with complete streets. We know that we also need infrastructure that reduces fatalities and serious injuries and encourages active modes of transportation. We need, as a region, access to reliable transportation data while we prepare for the implementation of these emerging new transportation technologies. And we need a new sustainable funding in order to be able to support and advance these needed transportation investments. So the plan is organized by identifying 5 things that we want. These are our desired outcomes of Connected KC 2050. These are the policy goals that the plan seeks to achieve, and we have 5 of those. So what are those? We say that we want a connected system that enables access to all activities, allowing people to succeed by removing transportation barriers. We know we want healthy communities and healthy individuals with safe and secure places to live, to walk, to bike, to roll, to ride the bus, and to drive, with clean air to breathe as well. We know we want investments that reduce pollution and reduce greenhouse gas emissions, and that also preserve and restore the ecosystem health. We want a range of transportation choices for ease of travel, for public health, for environmental benefits as well. And we want a well-maintained system that supports the efficient movement of people and goods and promotes economic development. So in order to achieve these outcomes, our Connected KC 2050 plan points out to 5 overarching strategies that give us the biggest bang for our buck. And what are those? We say in our plan that we will focus our energy on key activity centers and the corridors that connect them. We will seek to ensure that the transportation system's impact on the climate decreases over time. It builds resilience and reduces climate risks. We will identify new sources of funding, of public and private funding as well. We will choose multi-benefit investments that can impact many outcome areas, which make our investments go further. And we will manage and will share reliable data and prepare for these emerging transportation technologies. So the plan identifies, concludes a financial forecast looking ahead at the year 2050. And it does identify anticipated $52 billion in revenues and expenditures looking out at the year 2050. And this was as the plan was approved in June of 2020. The plan includes a long list of projects that are identified as financially constrained or illustrative. Financially constrained projects are those projects which have been prioritized first and are the projects that we believe we may have the resources as a region to implement, given the current resources that we anticipate to have available to us. The plan also identifies an increase in transit services of about 30% looking at the year 2050, and a 3% increase in roadway capacity. I should point out that the 30% increase in transit services, that's over a fairly small baseline when compared to many of our peers in the country. And our increase in roadway capacity, that's over a significantly larger baseline, as you can imagine. So the plan also includes a forecast that says that we will continue to grow as a region. We're going to add, looking at the year 2050, about 500,000 more people, about 250,000 new jobs. We will be having an increase in in travel in our region, close to a doubling of transit trips in our region, and we will see a decrease in greenhouse gas emissions. Although I will say that's perhaps not quite where we think that we need to be in order to avoid major impacts of climate change. We have set a few set of objectives for ourselves as we are conducting this plan update, and I have them summarized here on the screen. These are the things that we hope to achieve by the time we complete this work in 2025. So we'll be looking at integrating various plan recommendations that have been completed since 2020. We do need to account for a range of new and enhanced revenues since the current plan was adopted, but we also have to account for increased project costs and seek a way to advance funding strategies for additional transit services. We want to find ways to have a better quality engagement with disadvantaged populations, and try to find stronger buy-in from all stakeholders that are involved and are impacted or impact our transportation system in our region. We know it's also important that we find ways to integrate workforce, transportation, and housing needs and constraints and considerations into our transportation plan as well. So I'm going to step back now and review where we were at in June of 2020. As we all know what was going on in the world back then. A lot has changed in the space around transportation since 2020. So I'll just summarize those very briefly at a very high level. We know our travel and employment patterns have shifted. We know there's increased telecommuting activity even to this day. We know there's been an increase in federal and state transportation funding. However, we have seen a reduced purchasing power of those dollars due to inflation. We know also we have completed some additional work and great work around our climate action planning initiatives. And there's a lot of strategies that are coming out of that work, and we will be seeking to implement those into this update of the plan. We know also that we have been seeing more compact population growth than what we have in decades past. But however, that's not quite aligning with where our employment growth patterns are taking place. The employment growth continues to be dispersed, even though our population growth is more compact than it has been in the past. We know we have also seen some major highway system expansion projects move forward, and projects like the Kansas City streetcar projects also continue to move forward. So a lot has changed. One of the things that we think we can say that has not changed as much is that we have not seen an advancement of funding strategies for transit capital and infrastructure and operations projects. There's been very little progress. As an example of that, I'll reference the table that's in the bottom of the screen here. We have seen since 2020 a number of amendments that have moved forward for projects that are advancing forward in the implementation process. And those projects that are moving forward are typically, there have been in the great majority, roadway or highway capacity projects or bridge projects. We have not seen sort of a counterpart to that on the transit side. So there's certainly more work that needs to be done to advance transit services and systems in our region. So the timeline for update of the transportation plan is about 2.5 to 3 year process. We're about a year into this work. We started earlier this year with the process to update the data and the needs assessment, the needs that are informing the plan, identifying what are the objectives that we believe we have for this plan update. We held a policy kickoff workshop with policy committee leaders back in April. We kind of walked through our needs and what are the goals that we should have as a region. We have now pivoted into this process where we'll be doing two major things and have been working on two major things over the past month and into the rest of the fall into the winter. And the first one of those is this process of project identification and project prioritization that we'll have underway into next year. And also we have been getting ready to present the work of some scenarios that we have created and we'll be sharing with the public, actually starting tomorrow in a public open house that will be held online and also at MARC offices. So we'll be identifying those. And we have been sort of launching our process of conducting public engagement. I'll say a few more words about that here in the next couple of slides. Next year, early next year, as we collect the information that we receive for this call for projects, we'll be working with our committees and the project sponsors and other stakeholders to prioritize those projects in the plan, and that'll be taking place in the second into third quarter 2024. And all this work will be leading into plan adoption by June of 2025. So we still have a little ways to go, but we're well on our way for this specific plan update. So over the summer, we've been busy at doing a few different things. We've been updating our financial capacity analysis to try to develop a good understanding as we can on what are the financial resources that we can anticipate to have as a region as we move forward and try to implement the strategies or advance the projects in the plan. So we've been updating our financial capacity analysis. We've been developing some scenarios for future investment levels and accounting for the additional resources and also the additional inflation that has taken place over the past couple of years. I mentioned that we have been preparing some land use and development scenarios, and these will be shared for the first time with external audiences and with the public tomorrow, as we have also been sort of packaging these with some transportation networks. So I would encourage you, if you're interested in this, to participate in the public open house will be held tomorrow, or review the materials that we will be posting online as well during our online public meeting. We've been also getting ready to launch our engagement efforts, which I believe is the next slide here. So I'll say a few more words about that. So for the past couple of weeks, we have been conducting some pop-up engagement activities at each one of the 9 marked counties to share work, to share an update and overview of the work that we are conducting to update the long-range transportation plan. So it's been really fun work, and we've gotten some pretty good feedback. We have been distributing a survey. We have 2 surveys that we're going to be releasing or using over the next few months. The first one will be a randomly selected survey. We are procuring a vendor that's going to be helping roll this out. We will have that out on the streets the first of the year, probably January of next year. And at the same time, we're also doing the self-select online survey that we are already distributing. And as I mentioned, we were doing those with the pop-up engagement activities that we've been conducting over the past couple of weeks. These surveys are going to be looking at trying to fine tune our understanding about what are the needs that we're seeking to address as a region. What are the relative importance of the various policy goals that I mentioned here briefly a few minutes ago, and what investments should we prioritize as a region moving forward? So that's a type of information that we're seeking to learn from the public. I would ask that you help us. You please, if you haven't already done so, please take the online survey that I'll be sharing a link here in the next slide, and help us distribute it through your networks as well. So I already mentioned the pop-up events, and we have a public open house tomorrow at MARC offices at 4:30 to 6:30 p.m. And we will also be posting the contents of that on the connectedkc.org/2025 update. So you'll be able to find all the information there. The last bullet on this page is important. We do want to ask that if you have a group that you believe would be interested in learning more about this long-range transportation planning effort that we have, and if you have a group that you believe could provide meaningful input, and you'd like us, somebody from MARC staff, to come out and share a few words about our work, we'd love to come out. Just let us know and get us on an agenda. We'd love to come out, and we could spend 5, 10 or more minutes if needed. So if you need a speaker for an event, we'd love to come out and do so. Here is a postcard that we have been sharing during our pop-up engagement activities. I'm gonna let it sit there on the screen for just a quick few seconds. So if you have not yet taken this survey, I would encourage you to scan the QR code and spend a few minutes responding to the questions in the survey. And certainly, please help us share this through your respective networks. So I will now be moving on to what brought us here today, which is a call for projects. Be discussing the project evaluation criteria and the resources and other tips on how to apply. So as we know, we're working through a process to prioritize projects in the plan. This is by federal law. We have to this plan must include a list of regionally significant projects. I will define those in the next set of slides. Just to reiterate, this is not an application for specific funding. However, inclusion of a project in the plan could be a requirement in some cases and could be a boost in other cases for future funding opportunities. As a project sponsor, it benefits you to submit a project because it could be a step in the pipeline for future federal funding opportunities, and also because it helps the region understand your priorities for your city, for your community, for your transit agency. So it's very helpful in that regards. Who is eligible to submit a project for this call for projects? We do have eligible entities listed as any Department of Transportation, any local government, that could include cities, that could include counties, any transit agency. Mark, as the MPO, we will be submitting some projects as well. I'll say a few more words about that here in a couple of minutes. And we also note that not-for-profit groups are also eligible. But we do ask for consultation with a host agency that may be also impacted or a partnership may be needed in the future for a project. We do encourage that the partnership with the agency that owns any infrastructure, underlying infrastructure, we encourage that partnership and that consultation before projects are submitted for consideration in this process. So what should be submitted? We're asking for any project that is currently included in the transportation plan in Connecticut C 2050 to be submitted with an update to confirm or amend any significant change in costs, in scope, in the timeline of the project implementation, or in the financial resources. And also, projects may also be deleted if the project is no longer being pursued or if it's already been completed. We are also asking that any new projects be submitted if that project is not currently in the plan, but it has come to the attention of your agency as something that you'd like to move forward with over the next 25 years, and you do have that project, please go ahead and submit those. So what do we consider as regionally significant projects? So regionally significant projects are determined to be by our plan as any major roadway projects on facilities classified as minor, arterial, or higher, and of half a mile or more in length, any new or major interchanges. For transit projects, we'll be looking for any fixed guideway and bus rapid transit projects, any regional transit facilities, or any passenger rail and high-speed rail projects. For bicycle pedestrian projects, we're looking for projects that are multi-jurisdictional, that cross major barriers and that connect existing facilities. For management and operation programs, we're looking for projects that are regional or multi-jurisdictional transportation system management or demand management programs and regional environmental mitigation strategies. Other projects, I would say that if you have another idea that doesn't quite neatly fit into those definitions that I explained previously, please go ahead and reach out to me and we can talk those through and make a determination of whether it should be submitted or not. I do want to point out that if a project or phases of a specific project are currently included in our transportation improvement program, and in other words, funding has already been assigned to it and it's scheduled for advancement and construction, those projects do not need to be submitted in response to this call for projects. So to repeat that, if a project is already in the TIP, it does not need to be submitted. If a phase of a project, if a future phase that is not included in the TIP, we would ask you to go ahead and submit that unfunded phase at this point. But again, if you have any questions, please just go ahead and let us know. Mark's staff will be submitting a certain set of projects as we did in 2020. We will be submitting a range of multi-jurisdictional multi-county or bi-state projects with examples of the regional bicycle network and Metro Green systems, and we will be submitting those by county. We will also be submitting the regional Smart Moves transit system into this system as well. So if we're looking at projects that are regional in nature and across all kinds of political boundaries, and those are the best examples of those, the Regional Bikeway Network, Metro Green, and Smart Moves, Mark's staff will be submitting those projects on behalf of the region. So that concludes that part of the presentation. I believe I have one more section here, and then I'm going to be turning it over to Selena for a walkthrough of the portal. I'll be saying a few words about our project evaluation criteria. The scoring scale that we are going to be using to evaluate these projects is a scoring scale of 200 points. It is the same scoring rubric or scale as the last plan update in 2020. So there have not been any significant changes to the scoring from this plan to the previous exercise a few years ago. There are 10 sections. The first 2 sections, the ones you see on the screen, are unscored sections. Each one of the following sections, the other 8, are 25 points each. There is a detailed scoring rubric or scale that is included online on the resources page. I would invite for a review of the scoring rubric prior to submitting a project. So please do take a few minutes and review that before an application is filled out and submitted. And of course, if you do have any questions at any point, please do reach out to me and we'll talk through any questions that you may have. So the first section of the application portal is a project, and it's a section on general project description. This is an unscored section, of course, and it captures basic information about the project scope, the timeline, other things. We also have an unscored section around data and technology. This is a section that seeks to learn about how data and technology are used and leveraged as part of a project in order to solve a problem. So these are the first 2 unscored sections. Then we have a section on project readiness and fiscal sustainability. This is a section that evaluates projects based on how far the project is in the development process, whether or not funds are committed to the project and to what extent, and whether funds are available for ongoing operations and maintenance after the project has been completed. So we also have a section here on regional plans, policies, and strategies, which evaluates projects based on how well it is connected to regional and local plans, regional policies, and strategies. It looks at how well a project advances economic, social, and environmental goals, and also how closely it addresses performance measures that we track in our long range plan. So we also have a section on the centers and corridors focus of the transportation plan. This is a section that evaluates projects based on how well it serves our regional and local activity centers and corridors, and whether the project advances or seeks to achieve sustainable places within our communities. We have a section on access to opportunity, which evaluates projects based on how it improves access to jobs and education for non-drivers, and also how it provides benefits to disadvantaged minority and low-income populations. We have a section on economic vitality as well, which evaluates projects based on the more traditional transportation measures, such as improvement of travel time or management of congestion, the amount of travel on a corridor, and how well the project may increase useful life on any of the existing facilities. We have a section also on transportation choices, which evaluates projects based on how well the project provides choices for users of different modes. I think these are the last 2. There's a section on public health and safety, which evaluates projects based on how well it identifies and addresses safety hazards in the system and how well the project reduces ozone precursor emissions. And there is a section on healthy environment, which looks at projects based on how well they incorporate green infrastructure and how they reduce carbon fuel use This section also evaluates projects based on how well the project preserves and restores the environment. So again, a reminder, there is a detailed scoring rubric that is found online. If you can take a few minutes and review that, I would encourage that. And of course, if you have any questions at any point about any of this, please do reach out to me and we'll talk through those. I think at this point, Selena, it is going to be your turn for a few minutes, so I will turn it over to you.
Thank you, Martin. Good afternoon. My name is Selena Zapata-Burr. I'm a principal planner at MARC, and I'm just going to spend the next few minutes going through some of the resources that we have on our connectedkc.org website, as well as walking you through creating or modifying an existing project on the portal. From connectedkc.org, you can log into the project portal, reference important dates and deadlines, download a PDF version of the questionnaire, and find information regarding evaluation criteria, federal requirements, and additional resources. On the additional resources page, you'll find links to regional plans, federal and state resources, as well as a map viewer that shows regional assets such as activity centers, EJ areas, etc. So next we will open connectedkc.org/call for project and navigate our way to the portal. And I will share my screen so we can do that. Okay. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes, I can see it perfectly.
Thank you. So this is connectedkc.org/call for projects. If you navigate down a little bit, you'll see the application portal button, which you can click. Once you get to the portal login page, it'll prompt you for your username and password. If you have not already created a login, you can click register right here, and it'll prompt you for certain fields to create a login, and then you can go ahead and log into the portal. So I will go back, and I already have a login, so I will log in. Once you have logged in, the first screen you will see is a list of projects your login is associated with. If you submitted a project during the last call for projects, your existing project should be assigned to you. If they're not visible, however, please use the report issue button right here on the top right, and to let us know that there are certain projects that you created before that are not visible to you, and we can work on assigning those to you. You can also use the report issue button for any other issue that you're experiencing with regard to the portal. If you have not submitted any projects in the past, you can create a new project by clicking Start New Application. So I'll just click that for a demonstration. It'll bring you to the first section, basic information, as well as all the other sections that Martin just presented. But for the purposes of today, I am going to pretend that I've already started a new application. So I'm going to cancel out of that and go back to edit some of my responses from a previously developed application. So I'm going to go to a new project, edit. This is an example of a new project I created during this call for projects. As you can see, I filled out some of the basic information here, which is of course not real for this webinar, but just for demonstration purposes. There's also a map in the basic information section that will prompt you to either select or draw your project's location. So if you wish to select, you can select either county or city and select any jurisdiction that you would like. Or if you'd like to draw your own, you can do that as well by using the line tool or the polygon tool. And you can see here I've already drawn a polygon around Mission Road, but we can also do corridor line if we prefer. So hopefully an easy way to note your project location here. Once you've filled out the rest of the basic information on this page, you would go ahead and click Save. It'll tell you that your application has already been saved. and then you can proceed to the next sections in the questionnaire. In the next section is data and technology. You'll notice that there are some sections that will note that there is no scoring associated with that section, and that's just noted in the header there. I'm going to keep navigating through these sections. In section D, you will see for the first time that some of these questions have replaced older questions from the last round of the MTP call for projects. These are noted at the start of each of these questions. 18 is a good example of that. If this is a new project being submitted this round, no need to worry about what the older question was. This is more of a note for applicants that submitted projects during the last call. After we finish going through this example, we'll open up one of those existing projects to see how things look a little different in that interface. So again, I'm going to click save and next. One other thing I'd like to point out is that some of the questions in the portal have dependencies built into them. For example, I'm going to navigate to the economic vitality section, which I believe is section G. There we go. If I state here that, yes, my project will add more travel lanes, then it asks me to fill out the next question. If I say no, then it's grayed out. So you'll see those kinds of questions throughout the portal. If you have any questions about them, you can always use the report issue button on that. And I'm going to navigate to one of the last sections, which is supporting documents. Okay, so one of the last items I'll note is that supporting documents may be uploaded and may be required depending on your selections in the questionnaire. There are some rules about what kinds of file types and file names you can submit, but there is the ability to upload multiple supporting documentation files if needed. And the final step would be to certify your application and click the Submit Application button. Of course, if you're not ready to submit, you can simply click Save and come back to the application later. If you have another project you're working on, you can always click Cancel, and it'll take you back to the main page with a list of projects. So if you have an existing project that was submitted during the last call, things may look a little different for you, and I'm going to pull up an example of an existing project to show you what that will look like. You'll notice if you have an existing project, that information previously submitted should be populated in those fields. And things will also look a little different with regard to those replaced questions that we saw in the last example. So I'm going to navigate to section D, which we saw had one of those in the last example. You'll see that the older question is noted here, so question 18, and your response last time is also noted for reference, but it will also prompt you to answer the new question that is the replacement. So things will look a little different, but you at least have your reference from what was entered last time. So with that, I will return to the PowerPoint. I'm going to go ahead and cancel and log off. And if the PowerPoint could be shared again, then we can continue. Okay, thank you. So some helpful tips. If you want to share the questions with others on your team, you can always print out the entire questionnaire using the PDF posted on the website. We recommend that one person from your staff be responsible for plugging in responses within the portal for each project. However, if you do need to divide that responsibility among 2 or more people, you may share your login information with those staff members, but please be aware that the portal does not allow for collaborative editing. So if one person is logged in and editing the application, the other person should not be logged in. If both are logged in and editing at the same time, answers can be overridden by the other user and information can get lost. So just something to be aware of. You can edit your application until a deadline. Just again, make sure you're always clicking save when you finish for the day. And if you have questions related to the portal, use the report issue button. But if you have other questions, please feel free to contact Martin Riverola. And with that, I'll ask Paul from our research services department, which created and maintains the portal, if there is anything to add or clarify. Back over to Martin.
No, I believe you covered it all. The big thing is that if you do have an issue, just click on the report issue button and we'll get notified really quickly. And we'll actually probably get notified quicker than if you sent an email. So.
Thank you. And with that, I'll hand it back to Martin.
Thank you, Selena. I appreciate that very much. So we're going to go ahead and wrap up and open it up to any questions that there may be from those of you that are on the call. So important here are some key dates and the submission deadline. This is the second pre-application workshop. The important date to remember is a deadline for submissions in response to this call for project will be December 8th. That's a Friday, December 8th at 4 p.m. So we'd like to have to request that those be submitted and completed by then, please. So after the submission, after the projects are submitted and through the portal and we have all the information collected, we will take some time to review the projects. We're going to go ahead and score the new projects that are submitted for consideration of inclusion in the transportation plan. These scores will eventually help our planning committees and our policy committees laying down the prioritization scenarios, how these projects are prioritized into and included in the plan in the future. These I mentioned, these will be presented and will be shared with the respective committees for further evaluation. We expect to be starting that process about the end of the first quarter of 2024. We are expecting to have about 400 to 500 projects here, so it's going to take us as MARC staff a few weeks to collect all the information and understand it well in a way that we can share it right back with our committees for committee discussion. But starting about the second month or so of 2024, we'll be starting a committee review process with those. And as I mentioned, we are looking at having this list of projects approved with the plan adoption in June of 2025. Again, let us know if you want to schedule a discussion or a report before your staff or before any board or commission. We'd love to come out and spend a few minutes and saying a few words about this important regional work that we have underway. I will go ahead and wrap up now, and I guess we have a few minutes. I can take any questions that anybody may have at this point. I saw there was some discussion in the chat, but it looks like those questions were already answered through the chat. I don't see any new ones. So once again, I want to thank everyone for taking the time and participating in this webinar. Once again, we will be posting this recording online, and the PowerPoint slides can be found on our website already. And look forward to seeing all the projects that are submitted in response to this call for projects. And thanks a lot. And this meeting is now adjourned.